This gun lights your firemen, the pilot lights out.
This football team is coming into our place. We're standing in our way.
This is a game of the heart. Focus and finish.
All right, we're going to start off with the big trade news since it's the popular topic of the day. So the Colts went out and traded for Trent Richardson. You have him, or you want to get him. What do you do? Well, first of all, trading for him is a bit tricky because you have to factor in what you're going to have to give up, right? So the trade itself to the Colts does nothing but boost his fantasy appeal. It's pretty simple. He'll now be in a much better offense, putting him in position to score much more consistently. But if you own him, I wouldn't get too giddy, and he's going to have virtually no fantasy relevance in Week 3. In the end, Richardson has played 17 career games. He's been injury-plagued and only has a career average of 3.5 yards per carry. So while this is a good thing for his fantasy owners, be careful about how much you raise your expectations. It's a boost to his status, no doubt, but to me, the change of scenery itself doesn't make him elite. All right, we need to talk a little bit about the fact that the Broncos had to place left tackle Ryan Clady on injured reserve yesterday as he needs foot surgery. This means he is out for the season. We don't often talk about offensive linemen in fantasy football, but this is a huge blow to Peyton Manning owners as Chris Clark, a 2010 undrafted free agent, will now be the one responsible for protecting Manning's blind side. The risk of injury to Manning goes up, the likelihood that turnovers for Manning goes up, and the frequency of long passes that take time to develop will go down. Overall, it's just not good. Do you go and drop or trade Manning because of this? No, of course not. But you probably just lost 2 or 3 TDs, you definitely lost yards and completions, and 2 or 3 Manning turnovers are probably going to be attributed to Clady's loss as well. It's official. The folks over at Pro Football Talk list Reggie Bush's chances at playing this week at 50-50, which means he'll either play or he won't. Gee, thanks for the early info, guys. That's 2 minutes of my life I can't now get back. This is like the Rob Gronkowski situation where everyone will just have to wait until Sunday morning to find out, and anyone trying to be the first to report something to you in the meantime is simply wasting your time. Just wait until Sunday morning when you set your lineup so you know. And even if he does play, you can expect Joint Bell's workload to increase. He's going to get most of the touches this week. Roddy White did not practice again on Wednesday and continues to be not much more than a decoy as he continues to battle that high ankle sprain. Now, this injury has caused huge headaches to fantasy owners, bringing his production to a virtual standstill. So until you see that there's a game where he's a prime target, continue to leave him on your bench. Vernon Davis did not practice because of his pulled hamstring, but he's expected to play on Sunday at home against the Colts. As he tweeted that he's just resting, he's going to be ready to go. T.Y. Hilton is nursing a groin injury and was limited in practice Wednesday. However, in fantasy, I'm going to upgrade him. Why? Well, with Darius Haywood-Bay's shoulder ailing and Dwayne Allen done for the season with a hip injury, you can expect Hilton to become a bigger part of the passing game with each week that passes. Ray Rice is being held out of practice this week with a left hip flexor strain. The Ravens haven't ruled out the possibility that he can still play in Sunday's game against the Texans without practicing. But even if he does, you have to believe that Bernard Pierce is going to be the primary back this week. As for Rice, he's going to be a game-time decision. There's certainly a lot of those this week. At Tupelo wants to know if he should pick up James Starks this week. Hey look, if you're expecting 20 carries for 132 yards from Starks each week, you're living on a different planet. That was an anomaly. They aren't going to change the way they play. The Packers' offense just doesn't work that way. He was the first guy to rush for 100 yards in a game for the Pack since 2010. The year the Packers won the Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers was their leading rusher. He's the primary guy at the moment with Eddie Lacy down, but don't confuse that with fantasy stardom. I want to go back to this Jaguars-Seahawks game this week and the crazy point spread because after my commentary yesterday, my inbox was littered with commentary from viewers of all types. So for those of you who didn't see it, here it is. At Heavy Hitter wants to know if I think the Seattle defense is good play against Jacksonville on Sunday. Yeah, of course. But look, that brings me to another point. Now, let's not get crazy here. I know this is a fantasy show, but I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the point spread in the Jacksonville-Seattle game. It is the big elephant in the room. I just saw a line that got pushed over the 21-point mark. That's nuts. I don't care who the two teams are, where the game is being played. These are two NFL teams, and to ignore the fact that the guys on the lesser team are playing for a paycheck is irresponsible. I went back and looked, and there have been 4 games in recent memory that have had lines of 20 points or more. 3 times the Patriots were favored, and once Green Bay. One time the Pats were favored by 21.5 and missed covering by a half point. And the other 2 times they won by just 3 and 10 points. The Packers won their lopsided point spread game by just 3. Now look, I'm not suggesting that people play the Jaguars money line, but if you can get 21.5 points, you have to take the Jaguars. So look, with special teams coming into play and turnovers, there are so many different things that can happen in the course of a game to level the playing field. And with the clock working against you, eliminating the opportunity to cover a spread like that with every second that ticks off, there is just no way you can take Seattle if you're taking a calculated risk. Hey, if you have a question you want answered here on the show, hit me up with a tweet. If I don't use your question, I'll tweet you back for my best advice. And be sure to tune in to the Roto Experts Fantasy Football News Notes and Analysis segment every weekday. I'll be here to keep you current and ahead of the competition, and on weekends, come back for This Week in Fantasy Football as I team up with the King, Scott Engel, covering the week that was, the week that will be, and answering your viewer questions. Enjoy the game tonight, everyone. For Roto Experts, I'm Mike Cardano.